Good morning. We are on the record in the matter of the marriage of Jessica Rosine and Kyle Gibson. The case number is Butler County 14 DM 090. DCF appears by and through Miss Hawks. Mr. Gibson appears in person and pro se. Miss Rosine appears in person and pro se. Um, Miss Rosine, I think at one point along the way, you may have been represented by Mr. Swenson. Is he no longer representing you in this matter?
No, sir, he is not.
Okay. All right. We're here on a motion seeking modification of child support, basically amending or proposing to amend from the current order of $1,044 per month to $916 per month. Ms. Hawks, could you please describe the
Guys, today we're diving into a real courtroom clash where a father fights to lower his child support while the state digs for hidden income.
nature of your proposal and any changes to your prayer at this point?
Yes, Your Honor. So the state did file a motion to modify child support. This previously, at the beginning of the year, the child support obligation had been $232. And then a modification was sought early spring towards the summer. And that's when it was modified to, I believe, the 1,044. Another modification has been sought, and I prepared a child support worksheet that shows a guideline amount of $916. First, though, before we get too far into this, I would like to ask if father is receiving any VA disability or retirement benefits. I had spoke with mother and she had asked me that question. I looked at father's domestic relations affidavit. It did not have that listed on there. I just found out yesterday that we do have the ability to find out if an individual is receiving VA disability or retirement. We just don't have the ability to find out what that number is. So first I would ask father if he is receiving any benefits through the VA.
I think you might be muted, sir.
Okay. Can everybody hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is all new to me, Your Honor. Before we get into the VA disability, I'd like to expand on what I believe Miss Hawkins said. The case was originally closed for child support back in 2014, shortly after the divorce, and reopened in October with a $30,000 back pay and at $1,000 a month. So there was no, hey, this is going to be modified or nothing like that ever given to me while I was living in California. As far as the VA disability benefits, after serving 13 years in the Army, I'm rated at 30% and it's around $600 a month. Also on the child support worksheet Ms. Hawkins prepared, it doesn't list I have any other dependents, which I do. The pay amount that she has on here is $92,712. Is drastically wrong by at least $12,000.
Your Honor, if I may respond
Yes.
to that. So I did not include a multifamily adjustment because Miss Rosine had sought a modification back in May. Mr. Gibson chose not to participate in those proceedings. He did not respond to any of the correspondence from DCF to fill out any domestic relations affidavits or provide us with any information. So we went off an employer verification letter at that time. We did not know that there were any other younger children living in the home, so multifamily adjustment was not included. Now, Mr. Gibson is seeking a decrease in child support, and the guidelines allow for a multifamily adjustment at time of original order or when an increase is being sought. So Mr. Gibson's time to use that multifamily adjustment was in May, when an increase was being sought. Now he's asking to decrease his child support, and I don't believe the guidelines do allow for judicial discretion at all times, but I believe that the guidelines are specific that it's for the non-custodial parent when an increase is being sought, and he's seeking a decrease. And so that's why I did not include the multifamily adjustment. As for income, if you give me just a moment, I can speak to where I got that number.
And during this time in May, I was never received any paperwork, even speaking with DCF on the phone. Never given any paperwork through the whole time. The only paperwork I ever received was in October, was when I got told, hey, you owe $1,000 a month plus $30,000 back pay, all the way dated back to the original divorce decree. I know it's hearsay, but speaking with DCSF on the phone, I was advised that the petitioner can open and close the child support case as many times as she would like. So there's never any paperwork received at my address that's been on file with DCSF since I moved to California, that was on file with her attorney at the time since I moved to California. No paperwork was ever received in the mail.
Okay.
Your Honor, Mr. Gibson provided a domestic relations affidavit with 3 pay stubs. I averaged the gross pay on those 3 pay stubs, which came out to an amount of $7,726 a month.
Mr. Gibson, are you suggesting that that number is incorrect?
Absolutely, sir. If I may, I'm not sure if I could show evidence on here. On the pay stubs provided, it has my pay plan grade step, which is a GL9 step 9. I'm a lieutenant for Federal Bureau of Prisons. As you sure know, is in a shutdown right now. I don't know if you could see this, but for my grade step, it says 86,365. Let me see, try to get this camera right. So if you see the highlighted section, right, 9, and then you follow all the way over. Oh, I hate these things. Can you get a clear view?
It's difficult for me to see. Maybe you could just read to me what you think is relevant there.
So it just shows my step and my pay grade, right, which is GL9 step 9. The annual income is 86,365 for the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and that you can find that on the salary table 2025 for law enforcement officers for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's going to be different than regular street police or those, but that's what it has me making yearly. So that's 92,000. That was my income in California, supposedly at some point in time. But I took a $33,000 pay cut coming out here to Texas for a promotion. And Your Honor, if I may add, since October, I've sent DCSF 6 times modification paperwork. All 5 times they told me I never received anything until this last time I was provided an email. So I emailed it to them, and I also sent it in via paper, and now I have a court date.
As far as and I'm not finished maybe hearing from any of the parties, but I do want to give Ms. Rosine an opportunity to weigh in. Based on what you're hearing to this point, ma'am, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Your Honor, not particularly. That really pertains to the case and child support. In reference to him stating that the child support order previous was closed. I actually spoke with DCF on the matter. That was not anything that had to do with me. During the time that I joined the military and I went to basic training in AIT, and my mother was caring for the minor child. And since she was caring for the minor child, I was sending money home, and she also applied for assistance through the state. So when they closed the assistance through the state for my mother, that's when the case was closed, and that's what that reference is. But as anything else, I don't really have anything because this is about child support, you know.
All right, Ms. Hawks, having heard from both Ms. Rosine and Mr. Gibson, is there anything more that you wish to add at this time?
Well, Your Honor, it sounds like Mr. Gibson is receiving some VA benefits. said, I think I heard the number was 600. I believe our child support worksheet is 916. I suppose I would defer to Miss Rosine. I think there's two ways we could do this. We could either continue this to give Mr. Gibson an opportunity to provide DCF with statements of his VA disability or retirement monthly statement, so we can include that income in the child support worksheet. If it is $600, it would probably increase that 916 slightly, but I don't know by how much. If Miss Rosine's fine going forward with the 916, I would be okay with that as well today.
Ms. Rosine?
I would like it to be factored in, please, so we can extend it if we need to.
The father pushes back hard. He says he never got the paperwork, never got a warning, and now owes $30,000 out of nowhere.
And with the extension, it, I think, would only be fair that Mr. Gibson be given an opportunity to present current income data as well. I mean, he's explaining that from his perspective, at least, the income that has been ascribed to him might be higher than his actual earnings. And I just want everybody to know that I'm very happy to extend this to try to get more data points and try to have as much precision as is possible in the calculation. But I just don't know where that will end up. I don't know if it would push numbers up or down. And of course, Mr. Gibson's also asking the court to consider whether or not there should be any adjustment for a multifamily discount. And I haven't ruled on that question either. But I think that given that there are so many moving parts, I think it's important that we try to get this right. And I think that I would like to set this over to give Mr. Gibson an opportunity to augment the income information that DCF has with any additional information that he has, so that a new worksheet could be computed. Certainly, Ms. Rosine, if there's any changes or additional information concerning your income, that would be important to also forward on to DCF. And then in the meantime, I'll consider the question, and I understand where the bias would kind of naturally flow, but I do understand the court has some discretionary powers as well. But I'll consider whether or not I think there should be any multifamily discount and or factored in. And then from there, what I would like to be the case when we reconvene, Ms. Hawks, if you can have your best worksheet available, but also open in case the court should decide to factor in the multifamily. We could do that hopefully in real time on the record. What kind of time frame do you think you would reasonably need, Ms. Hawks, to get information and factor those things into your new calculation?
Well, Your Honor, I always like to have at least 2 weeks before the hearing to be able to mail that out to the parties, and so at least a week before that to review that and give me time to prepare. I will say, and I'll go ahead and get these prepared for filing, the pay stubs that Mr. Gibson provided me that are from June and July, and they do have his base salary, so I am aware of that, but he does have some overtime so I factored in the gross. So if he's only going to provide me that pay scale, I don't foresee myself changing the income on the child support worksheet. I'm going to base it off of the gross income he's actually making. So if he can provide me pay stubs that are more recent than July 26th, that would show a decrease in income, I'll definitely consider that. But right now, what I have, I believe, is very accurate. So I guess depending on when the court wants to set this for hearing, I would say Mr. Gibson needs to provide the VA benefits and any income information to me at least 3 weeks in advance so that I have time to get that information out to the parties.
Can I ask a couple questions by any chance, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So in factoring in the income withholding worksheet, the overtime on the pay stubs is not guaranteed. I'm a lieutenant at a federal prison with 1,400 plus inmates. The overtime's not guaranteed. Lieutenants are gonna get stuck after their 8-hour shift. So same with the captain, the AW, and the wardens. Miss Rosine knows she was employed by the State Department of Corrections in Kansas. As to her timeline she's speaking about, basic and AIT. So that was well before we were ever married. The case was closed after 2014, after the divorce was finalized. I have children on this worksheet that follow in each bracket. If you have any questions, please ask, Your Honor. I'm an open book, ma'am. Ms. Hawkins, you too. But the overtime is not a guaranteed thing. It's not every day. It's not something I want to do. As far as the insurance, the health insurance, I could provide health insurance coverage, dental, vision. I've never ran from anything, Your Honor.
Well, and nobody's implying that you had run from anything, and certainly I think everyone appreciates both of your efforts to serve our country and continuing to serve the communities you're in by the work you're doing now. So I don't want you to in any way feel demeaned, because that's not the purpose here.
I just feel like I'm getting railroaded, sir, to be honest with you. As of right now, I can't provide any pay stubs. The federal government's in a shutdown. I'm personally not getting paid. So there's nothing I can provide you more than what I already have. You take out the overtime, you include the VA benefits, something that I've earned that shouldn't even be included in this. But health insurance, dental, vision, I can provide all of that. I required a copy of the birth certificate and social security number. And this is just an unfortunate situation that should never happen, but that's another court hearing for a different time.
Well, I think that there are a lot of moving parts, and in all candor, I didn't read the file back to inception. So you're speaking about some historical data points that I'm not immediately familiar with. By the time we reconvene, I will have reviewed the file in its entirety. And I think that it might make sense for us to go ahead and set this over into early January. I mean, I know that none of us could speculate with any kind of certainty about when the government shutdown will come to an end. I believe there's some optimism that that might be sooner than later, but again, no way of knowing for sure. But I'd like to, if there is a time frame that kind of makes sense from everybody else's perspective, that would potentially allow for newer pay stubs to be submitted, if that's what you want to do, Mr. Gibson, that you'd have a chance to do that. I had, but I do not have in front of me January calendar. I apologize. Miss Jackie, what January dates do we have at this point?
We have January 16th, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Hawks, do you think, just given the nature of number of moving parts at this point, that might be a good date to set this to make certain that everybody has a chance to be heard in terms of documents that they submit to you, and also giving you some time to consider the data and perhaps run a new worksheet?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Go ahead. Mr. Gibson and
Yes.
Miss Rosine, does that January 16th date at 10 o'clock in the morning work on your calendars?
Yeah, would that be better for in person out there in Kansas, or another Zoom meeting?
It will be by Zoom again. It'll
By
be
Zoom.
using the same meeting ID and passcode that you're using today. Yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor, that's
And I
fine
do-
with me. I just need a date.
Okay.
And then
Yeah,
also,
go ahead, sir.
also, if I may, at the meantime, I assume it's gonna be stuck at 916 or 1044.
It's at 1,044 right now, pending any change.
How am I supposed to pay my rent? I've been lucky enough, I have a landlord that understands the court proceeding and understands what I'm trying to do, but I haven't been able to pay rent. My rent's at $1,000 a month. I'm not getting paid, so I'm kind of running out of gas money to get back and forth to work. There's just some circumstances piling up on my end, and it's just unfortunate, Your Honor. I don't.
Well, it is indeed unfortunate, and I know that it sounds like your circumstances are much like those that many of us contend with, where even a brief interruption in the pay that we're earning from our work can have some pretty profound impacts through our household and with our families. But at this point, I think my zeal is to try to hear everything that you're saying, everything that Ms. Rosine is saying. And as far as a mechanism for any kind of modification, the proposed modification that I'm seeing at this point is, and I know when you're not getting any money, a dollar might as well be the moon, but it's a relatively small, what is it, $128 or something like that, proposed modification. I know Ms. Rosine is, from her perspective, reasonably moving the court to consider a potentially higher number if that's what the worksheet should yield. I know from your perspective, Mr. Gibson, you're wanting the court to consider a potentially, and from your point, reasonably meaningfully lower number. If the court were to consider multifamily adjustment, if the court were to be privy to some new numbers that might show, I think you said maybe an income of something like 12,000 less than was used on the original worksheet. Those are all considerations the court will have to keep in mind. But I think that at this snapshot in time, I would be
DCF stands firm on their numbers, but the father flips the table with proof from his federal pay chart.
in a position to think that the best way to go forward is to leave these other decisions until we have the data points and try to make a good decision once for all, rather than trying to meander around the milieu of different numbers in the meantime. And I do concede and I do understand, and I am very sorry that that works a hardship on you, but I think it's the most reasonable way forward from the court's perspective.
So then just to be clear, so it's on the record, when I send in another worksheet for the 7th time to include the birth certificates of the children living in the house and all that relevant information, again, that's what I need to do, correct? Is that what Ms. Hawkins is asking for?
Basically, I'm wanting you to feel latitude to advise the court in whatever you think are important considerations in this. So yeah, if you want to update the income numbers, such as those pay stubs are available to you. And I realize the government's shut down, but I don't understand how that would necessarily make you in a position where you wouldn't be privy to your own prior pay amounts. I mean, it seems like those would be available for you.
The prior ones I can get, Your Honor. I'm just saying any new ones like from last weekend when
right.
I won't have any updated stuff. And unfortunately, sir, as a lieutenant, right, the overtime is gonna happen. If there's an incident in the institution, I'm stuck after my shift completing paperwork, medical assessments, getting inmates to and from the hospital. There's ins and outs. So that overtime sometimes is unavoidable. And it's not
and like you said, and like you explained, it's also unpredictable. So I understand where you're coming from there. But my prayer for you, Mr. Gibson, is that the shutdown ends quickly. I think there's, from what I'm understanding, just reading the news, having no expertise in the matter, there might be back pay provided at that point. And I know that would be a blessing for you. I hope that proves to be the case. But I want to, as much as is possible, make a good decision when we reconvene. I am going to set this over to January 16, 2026 at 10 a.m. And I didn't confirm, Ms. Rosine, does that date and time work for you, ma'am?
Yes, sir. It does work for me.
Okay. Okay, and I'll give each of you an opportunity to update Ms. Hawks to the extent you would wish to. And I will be, in the meantime, reviewing the file, and I will be considering the question of application of a multifamily adjustment. And if Ms. Hawks thinks it's appropriate based on the information she receives, she could run a new worksheet if she thinks the one she has accurately reflects the circumstances. We might have only that same worksheet available when we reconvene, but in either case, I'll ask Ms. Hawks that you have it up to the extent the court may wish to consider the multifamily adjustment.
Your Honor,
Yes,
before
ma'am.
we go, I would ask that Mr. Gibson be ordered to provide his VA benefits monthly statements to DCF by December 15th. And then if he wants DCF to consider any other income information, that also be provided by December 15th.
I think,
Oh,
go ahead, sorry.
Additionally, I don't need birth certificates for his other children. I don't question that those are his biological children living in his home. I just don't know that I agree that he should receive credit for them on the multifamily adjustment based on the Kansas Child Support guidelines. But I'm not questioning the validity of whether or not they are his biological children in his home. I think it's just going to be whether he deserves credit for them on the worksheet or not, but I don't need their birth certificates.
Okay. Well, and I do think that December 15th deadline for either Ms. Rosine or Mr. Gibson to submit the data they would like to have considered and including the VA benefits makes sense, and that gives you a chance to work on that worksheet such as you deem it appropriate. And if a new worksheet is indeed submitted in the case, that can be mailed to the parties ahead of time so that hopefully we could move through to a conclusion on January 16th. All right. We'll look forward to seeing each and all January 16 at 10. And thank you, Ms. Rosine. Thank you, Mr. Gibson, for coming in.
Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I need to go off camera and off mic for a moment to make some notes here.
Are we free to end the call?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. The next case I have is State of Kansas on behalf of the Secretary for the Department for Children and Families et al. Versus Christopher McGee Sr. The case number is Butler County 25 DM 018. The DCF appears by and through Ms. Hawks. Are there other appearances on this case?
I didn't hear it right. For Christopher McGee? Yeah, you said that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm Ada.
You're Miss DeWitt?
Yes.
Okay. And is Mr. McGee appearing there with you as well?
Yeah, he's right here.
Sorry. Okay, that's all right. All right, Mr. McGee and Ms. DeWitt also appear in person and pro se. This matter was last before the court on September 19. It was continued to today's date. There are, I think, historically have been some questions that might be as yet unresolved concerning the nature of the rearing of the children at this point. Ms. Hawks, do you have any additional information, any questions for Mr. McGee or Ms. DeWitt, or any proposed way forward?
Your Honor, I guess I would have to see if the parties are still residing together. I think that's kind of been the issue, is that they may be living in different households, but are together and raising the children together. It sounds like there was maybe a plumbing issue and why they were living in different households. But it still remains that Mr. McGee is not listed on the services that they're receiving from the state. So we still need that application updated to include Mr. McGee as in the household. Otherwise, we need to establish child support.
All right. Mr. McGee, do you have any update for the court, sir?
No, we're still having, can't find the leak. It's actually underneath the house somewhere, but, you know, since I figure it's my fault on a lot of it, whatever you guys want to do. The only thing I got a question about
Is Emmy, why is Emmy on here when she's 18 years old?
she's been 18 for 2 months.
Well, it's probably by virtue of the fact that the matter was begun prior to her birthday, is what I'm suspecting.
Okay, I
And
was wondering
Okay.
about
there,
that.
there
Okay.
also has she already graduated high school?
Yes.
Okay.
And Your Honor,
Um,
this was filed in January.
right.
Okay.
So with all of that in mind, Ms. Hawks, it sounds like Mr. McGee is acknowledging that this has played out over a longer arc of time than he
Right.
had anticipated, and he's willing to go forward in whatever direction I think makes sense to the court and frankly,
Well-
what makes sense to DCF. I guess from my perspective, we're down to a couple of options, either establishing support today based on the acknowledgement of Mr. McGee, or setting this over one more time. And I think we've said it over one more time, 3 times already.
Well, I
But
don't want to cause, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just don't want to cause any trouble, so whatever. I mean, I would love to have a little more time, but I don't,
We can't find the leak underneath the house.
I'm gonna have to turn the wall and try to get in. They got whoever built the house, crazy.
But so I need to, what do I need to do? I need to include Chris on my stuff because I don't get food stamps or anything like that anymore.
Hasn't got that for a long time.
Ms. Hawks, you might have a better, well, and I'd also like to hear your perspective on this, but I don't know if you want to speak to whether or not services are still being provided in any form or fashion, or whether or not you could easily adjust any worksheet to acknowledge the majority of one of the children.
So, it looks like at least the minor child is still on medical. And so some
Yes.
of our medical is mandatory, some of it is not. Ms. DeWitt can contact Child Support Services to determine if that is a mandatory program that she has to participate in child support services with. If it's not, then she could request that she withdraw her assignment of rights through us, and we would close out the case, and it would no longer be a 4D case, and we could dismiss. If it is a mandatory program, then her options are to either add Mr. McGee to the application to include whatever income he has to be considered for her application for services. Even if they're not under the same household because of, or same roof because of a plumbing issue, he could still be on the application, and then we would dismiss the case, or we proceed with child support. And then I can file an updated child support worksheet with only the youngest child on there, and then we would only establish child support for the oldest child between the first of the month after the petition was filed through the date of emancipation, and then it would be for the youngest child going forward after that. And assuming we continue today, which I think is probably the best option right now, it was my intention to ask one of our support workers to reach out to Ms. DeWitt after sometime, after this hearing in the next couple weeks, to see if they could assist her with some of this.
Can I ask one more question, or if I can remember both the questions, huh?
Go ahead.
Okay. Last time she said something about, you did too, about going to DCF, and I got the number. I tried to call them, but I don't understand. They never did call me back or nothing. I don't know. I don't understand that part. And there was another question that may come to me. I've been having lots of issues lately.
I mean, Albert needs to be he's on United Health Insurance right now. And
Oh, that was the other question.
needs to stay on the insurance.
Mom steps in, measured and precise, quietly correcting the record with her side of the story.
And I can tell in the system that Mr. McGee did call child support services, but we're not the ones who add Mr. McGee to the service application. We're
Oh.
just child support services. He needs
Okay.
to call the division of DCF that actually provides the
And did-
services.
I got a hold of
Who
a couple.
you
and they
signed
kept-
up for with.
So need to go ahead and go in and sign up for it anyway, or whatever you guys find that we need to do?
Yeah.
Well, I
Okay.
think that there are some options that you have, but these are options, frankly, that you'll have to decide what works best for yourselves and your family. And beyond that, I think that as you're discussing those options, you probably need to be doing that, as has been suggested by Ms. Hawks, with the appropriate people at DCF. And depending on your choices, updating documentation, or as has been suggested, if the medical program isn't mandatory, I suppose it's within your rights, and you could consider the propriety of withdrawing and putting this case in a posture where this case at least could be dismissed. So you have some choices to make that nobody should be making for you. I'm willing to continue this one more time, as Ms. Hawks has suggested. And look, I feel like I am right there with you when it comes to kind of being overwhelmed with the number of issues that might be coming over the transom at a given moment in time. But this case has meandered for quite a while, and I appreciate your frankness in explaining that, there were things that, you might in hindsight have done better, and that you're willing just to accept whatever might be done. But I hope that you can dust yourself off and forgive yourself for whatever you think you might have been able to do better through to today's date. But I hope you would feel some new energy and some new urgency, both of you, to contact DCF, even if it means making a trip to an office. Ms. Hawks has indicated she'll ask that a DCF worker reach out to you. But I think you need to understand, in a somewhat complicated environment, but you need to understand your options and what's best for you. And you need to make decisions. And depending on what decisions you make, there are different directions that this case could potentially go. It could be the case that there is a winding down of this case entirely. It could be the case that there would be the need to do a new worksheet for at least any time post your daughter's turning 18. But again, nobody should be advocating for you more than you're advocating for yourselves on this. And I think you need to be very focused on trying to make use of whatever time is available to you between today and whenever we reconvene, to try to get those things sorted out in the way that's best for you. And that's my hope for you. Yes, sir. Ms. Hawks, do you have a date in mind as to when we might set this over to?
Your Honor, I'm thinking maybe that December 19th date. I'm pulling that up now to see what time would be the best time that day.
So you're saying I don't need to get a hold of you? You want us to go through the SRS, or do you want me to somehow get some information to you if you need to?
Yeah, you have some choices to make. You can ascertain whether or not the medical is mandatory, and if it isn't, if you thought it was, in the big picture, the best thing for your family, you could withdraw your daughter from that program, and this case could be wound down. On the other hand, if you are going to continue to receive services either mandatorily or by choice, you're going to have to update the application to include, Mr. McGee, your income, your circumstances, and then from there, there could be presumably a new worksheet calculated, and we could have that available, or at least maybe for a point of discussion when we reconvene on that December 19th day.
Okay.
And what time on the 19th was that, Ms. Hawks?
Your Honor, we could do a 9:30.
9:30?
Yes, sir.
That'd be
So
great, because we go through the Augusta Library and they don't open until 9. But it works
Okay.
out great for us.
Yeah.
All right.
Quieter and everything else.
Well, we'll continue this then to December 19th at 9:30. We'll use the same Zoom meeting ID and passcode, and we'll look forward to seeing you both then. And I would exhort you, please, to take whatever proactive steps are available to you to get the information and the options that you have and make the choices that are best for your family.
So is the information going to be sent to us so we can kind of look at, my biggest problem is I'm hard of hearing, been that way most of my life, but it's easier for me to read it and stuff. Is there a way?
I think the best thing for you to do is to, and you mentioned this on an earlier occasion, but I think you need to go physically in person to a DCF office.
We did that.
Okay, and when did you do that?
I have been about 3 weeks ago, maybe at the most, when we went to DCF in El Dorado. You were there with me. You weren't? Oh, maybe I was by myself. Okay.
I wasn't with you.
All right. Got mixed up on that one.
Yeah, well, I think that it would just be important for you to drill down as much as you can by whatever means are available to you to talk to DCF, and then y'all can make the choices you think are best, and we'll respond to those when we reconvene on the 19th.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Well,
have a good day.
Yep. You too.
This whole thing got started from a utility bill, and when I found that they kept saying at the city that I was losing water, but it didn't look like it was that much. It was a little over a month ago. We had 66,000 gallons of water being used. It's like, what?
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
I'm sorry you're contending with that. I can't imagine.
well, no, that's just my
Yeah.
fault. I should have dug into it a little quicker, I guess, is what I should have done.
All right. You have a good day.
You too. Thank you both.
Thank you.
And if you change your mind on anything, just let me know, please.
Changed my mind on what?
Well, what else you want me to maybe do or something? That'd be all I would ask.
Well, that'd be through her.
I don't know.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are on the record in the matter of the marriage of Jacqueline Miller and Jeremy Miller. The case number is Butler County 25 DM 012. The DCF appears by and through Ms. Hawks. Mr. Miller appears by his counsel, Ms. O'Hara. Ms. Miller appears in person and by and through her counsel. Ms. Hesse. Also appearing is Ms. Jimenez, who is an intern with Ms. Hesse's office. We were here a little while ago, originally on a motion seeking modification of an income withholding order. There has been an objection filed to same. Ms. Hawks, I might turn first to you just for any update you might have for the court, and if there is no update and we're needing to move forward, for you to explain your position and prayer to the court concerning the modification.
Your Honor, unfortunately, I don't really have an update. So we filed the motion to modify the income withholding order because there's an arrears based on the temporary order for child support. However, I believe it was father filed a motion to modify or vacate the temporary orders, and I have not seen a resolution to that. Last I knew, the parties were working towards an agreement. So I have not heard if the parties have reached an agreement on that, and if so, if that resolved any arrears. So I'm going to have to defer to the parties on that issue.
All right, Ms. O'Hara, I might have you speak first to any update you may have.
Yes, Your Honor. The parties have reached an agreement to finalize all issues we've kind of gone back and forth, and I think Ms. Hesse and I spoke yesterday, and I think we do have a final resolution, and she just needs to make a few changes to the journal entry, which she indicated she would do over the weekend, and then we should be able to get it finalized. It should resolve arrearages, current support. So I think we have that all taken care of. My client is self-employed. I'm not sure income withholding order is necessary. Self-employed. He has a moving business, so. But I think he understands what the obligation is going forward.
All right. Ms. Hesse, does that jibe with your understanding of the case at this point as well?
Yes, Your Honor. And I believe there was some income tax that was withheld as well. So I believe any arrearage has been resolved, and then the final order will take care of the rest of it for sure.
Okay. And Ms. Hawks, with regard to the nature of the self-employed aspect of Mr. Miller's prospective contributions, do you want to be heard on the withholding order question?
Dad insists he's being railroaded, saying the shutdown left him unpaid and hopeless. You can hear the emotion in his voice as the judge tries to steady the chaos and bring the focus back to fairness.
Your Honor, we still ask for an income withholding order to issue, even if it goes directly to Mr. Miller, and for him to pay through Kansas Payment Center. That way, in the event that he no longer is self-employed and it becomes a W-2 employee with a different employer, that we don't have to come back to court to modify an order and get permission to issue an income withholding order.
All right. Ms. O'Hara, with that backdrop, are you comfortable with the issuance of the income withholding order directly to your client?
I just don't think it's necessary. I mean, I'd have to ask him how he pays himself and stuff. I think it just is going to create a little bit more of a problem than necessary. I'm not sure I understand the argument of the state of Kansas, because if he switches employers, he has to notify everyone, and and they would have to issue a new income withholding order no matter what, because they'd have to issue it to a new employer. So I don't think that really makes a lot of sense. So, I think it's just going to create a little bit more problem than necessary. I'm not exactly sure how he pays himself. He's not a W-2 employee for himself. If he is to switch employers, they'd have, no matter what, they have to issue an income withholding order. So I just don't think it's necessary, Your Honor, under these circumstances. But he could, paying through the Kansas Payment Center, I think needs to be done so that we can make sure we keep a proper calculation of it. But I think he can pay it directly, or however he wants to set it up. But as self-employed, it just doesn't make sense, I think, for an income withholding order at this stage.
Ms. Hesse, do you have any thoughts with respect to the income withholding order proper?
I don't, Your Honor. As long as he's paying through the Kansas Payment Center, I don't have a thought either way with regards to the income withholding order. Again, I do agree. I guess I do agree with Ms. O'Hara that it is difficult on a self-employed individual to do an income withholding order. But as long as my client's receiving her child support, we don't have any type of formal say.
Okay. And the other question I have is, it seems like the parties are confident we're at a finish line here. Is there any need to set a placeholder date in the future, or is it just the case that I should anticipate the order making its way into the queue sometime next week? Okay. All right. I feel a tension in my own heart in that I recognize that there's some value in and a bias towards typically having an income withholding order in a case. And at the same time, I understand that this circumstance is relatively unique. Many people indeed are self-employed, but it seems like in this case, there's a viable going concern that might be the situs of Mr. Miller's employment for the rest of his career, for that matter. And with that being possibly the case, I think that it would make sense just to make certain that the journal entry specifies in writing that the payments are to be made through the Kansas Payment Center. I think that benefits everyone. And that if there is any change in employment, that Mr. Miller would indeed update DCF essentially immediately once that change were to take place. All right, and if there's nothing further, I'll just hope for that journal entry to be available sometime next week. Thank you each and all.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
All right, we're on the record in state of Kansas on behalf of the Secretary for the Department for Children and Families et al. Versus Megan Dunham. The case number is Greenwood County 25 DM 006. The DCF appears by and through Miss Hawks. Is Miss Hetherington on the call?
Hi, Your Honor. My name is Riley Wiesman. I'm standing in for Haley Hetherington, also of Adair Law.
Okay. And forgive me, what was your last name, counsel?
Wiesman.
All right, Miss Wiesman appears for Miss Dunham. And are there other parties present on this call at this time?
Keith and I are. Keith, Ronnie Dunham.
Okay, that would be Keith and Ronnie Johnson appear in person and pro se. We were last here on September 5 of 2025, at which time the matter was continued to today's date, and temporary support in the amount of $250 was authorized and ordered by the court. In the meantime, I do have two new child support worksheets. These have been submitted by Ms. Hetherington on behalf of her client. Ms. Hawks, from the perspective of DCF, what do you think makes sense as far as how this case should go forward, and what orders should the court consider making?
Your Honor, I apologize. I did not see those filings, the witness and exhibit list yesterday evening. So I'm going to need time to review those and determine if I'm having trouble even opening them right now, if the portal's not wanting to open. So at this point, I don't even know what's in them.
Well, and actually these, looking at the dates, these actually were before our last hearing. I don't know if that helps. They were filed electronically on August the 1st in Greenwood County. And it looks like they have a couple of alternative numbers, one being $553 per month, and the other being, if I recall correctly, $900 and $991 per month.
Well, based on that, I believe at the last hearing, we were waiting on mother to provide updated income information and health insurance information. So I know I had been provided an employment letter that she was being offered a job at $10 an hour and $10.50 an hour. But I think we were waiting because the domestic relations affidavit that was filed wasn't verified. And so we were waiting on current income information once she actually started receiving pay stubs and a verified DRA with the health insurance information. And so that all happened after those child support worksheets were filed. So I think we were waiting on that updated information.
Ms. Wiseman, do you have any updates concerning a new DRA, any new job or income information, or any insurance information?
So at this time, because this job is new, she's in that 90-day waiting period before any health insurance can be offered to her and potentially the minor child, excuse me. And so that employment letter that we sent over to Ms. Hawks yesterday, I believe, that would just be including what she is currently making at that $10.50 an hour. And I was informed by my client, or our client as well, that the child support has been started to be taken from her paycheck as of the last pay period at that $250 rate.
Okay. Do you concur that it might be advantageous to continue this to let some of these as yet unspecific factors come into sharper focus so that we can maybe make a more considered order at that time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. When does her 90-day probationary period end? Do you have any idea on that?
I don't have a specific date, but my client is here via Zoom, if you would permit her to speak to that.
Sure. Ms. Dunham, can you advise the court as to when you expect to be finished with your 90-day probationary period with your new employer?
Yes, my start date was August 27th. So 90 days from that, it should be next month on the 27th.
Okay. Ms. Hawks, do you think that if we were to set this for that January 16th date, that would give sufficient time after that December 27th conclusion of the probationary period at work, so as to be able to get any insurance information or other data points that you might need for a potential new worksheet calculation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Weissman, do you think that gives you adequate time to do what you would like to do on your client's behalf as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. and Ms. Johnson, I want to hear if you have anything you'd like to say. Basically, because of the relative newness of Ms. Dunham's new employment, we're trying to make sure we have all of the data in hand so as to make as much as is possible an accurate calculation on the worksheet. And in order to get that data, we're probably in a position where we need to wait until after the probationary period. Do you have anything that you would like to say about continuing this case to that January 16th date at perhaps 10:30 in the morning?
We can
I'm sorry?
we can do that as well.
Okay. And have you begun receiving the temporary support? I know it's been drawing, at least as of late, but have you been receiving that?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay. Well, hopefully you'll begin receiving that shortly, and we'll try to get through to a once for all, or at least once for all with respect to the current pleadings before the court order when we reconvene on January the 16th.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Well, we'll continue it then to January 16 at 10:30 and look forward to seeing everyone then. Thank you, Ms. Weissman, for coming in.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
The judge takes control. He delays the ruling, giving both parents one last chance to prove their truth. The courtroom cools down, but the stakes stay high. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.